All right, YouTubers, welcome back to part 10 of the Bin Dive series. I want to thank everybody who's been tuning in to watch these. It's been really fun to make these, to kind of go back through and rediscover some of these movies I had forgotten about, and to share some of these with you guys. As always, I have my two biggest fans here with me, Miss Hannah and Miss Heidi. Got a couple candles lit. And we're going to go through and check out some of these horror DVDs. And we're going to start with a little stack of Code Red goodies. So get relaxed and let's check them out. First one here that you saw already, this is called Curse of the Blue Lights. These are all from Code Red. And this was a gift to me from Jeff Wedding. He sent this to me a few years ago. Some sci-fi goodness here. Let me see. The movie came out in 1988. It says this is essentially a string of gory set pieces involving rotting zombies and slimy flesh-melting effects. And you can see that it's creatures in rubber suits with funny costumes, funny characters. Curse of the Blue Lights. Let me pull these over here again. You'd think I would learn by now, just to pull them on my left side. All right, the next one is called Evil Speak. Remember the little kid you used to pick on? Well, he's a big boy now. This one has Clint Howard right there. Evil Speak is remarkably engaging, imaginative, and well-crafted. A Carrie-esque tale of a tormented nerd. The movie came out in 1981. It's a pretty good movie. Another practical effect movie with monsters in rubber suits. A very, very pretty young lady. There's no James Earl Jones in this movie, but there's a Claude Earl Jones. I don't know. Don Stark is in here too. Don Stark played in That 70s Show. He was Donna's dad. Haywood Nelson is in here. He was in What's Happening. He was Dwayne Wayne, was that his name? The next one is called Love Butcher, The Love Butcher, another slasher movie. I believe this is from the late 70s. He turns a quiet neighborhood into a slaughterhouse. 1975. DVD extra, audio commentary with the director Don Jones, moderated by R.A. the Rugged Man. A string of murders in a posh neighborhood as the police department stumped, and the local press is breathing down their necks. Strangely, nobody notices that several victims share the same gardener, a bent, elderly man with a crippled arm named Caleb. Even though all of the murder weapons are lawn care tools, Caleb remains above suspicion. Of course, it isn't Caleb doing the killing, but rather his second personality, a confident, handsome younger brother named Lester. The Love Butcher, 1975. Here's another spaghetti western called Vengeance. It's a film by Antonio Margheriti. He also did some giallo movies and some horror movies. But he tried his hand at spaghetti western, and it was a pretty good movie. Starring Richard Harrison. It was the biggest gold heist in the West, but it didn't go down as the gang had planned. Now one of the thieves is dead, torn limb from limb by a band of 5 desperados. His partner Jocko arrives too late. The murderers are gone, and on 5 pieces of blood-stained rope, Jocko swears revenge. Blazing a bloody trail, Jocko tracks the desperados and one by one returns each piece of rope to its owner, along with a hot lead and shallow grave. A very pretty, pretty redhead. Movie came out in 1968. The next one here is a double feature called The Night Prowler and Devil Woman. From the director of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, based on a short story by Patrick White, The Night Prowler, a haunting tale of obsession and possession. And Devil Woman, the baddest dudes that ever walked the face of the earth fight a battle to the death with Satan's sinister sister. I don't know if that's supposed to be like a Medusa. So the Prowler came out in 1978. The Night Prowler, 1978, and then Devil Woman came out in 1975. That looks creepy right there. She looks beautiful and creepy at the same time. Devil Woman, the baddest dudes that ever walked the face of the earth fight to the battle of death with Satan's sinister sister. A woman is born with the power to control snakes. She has a sexy body and soft silken skin and the kiss of death. She uses her wicked powers to seek revenge on a gang that killed her parents, and at the same time a Chinese kung fu master and a doctor get mixed up in the game of terror and death. And a young woman is attacked by a prowler in her bedroom, but she turns the tables on him and she ravishes him. She then transforms into a wife-wielding, leather-jacketed prowler herself and begins sneaking into men's bedrooms at night. The prowlee becomes the prowler, a tale about the dark side of suburban middle-class urban culture and family relations. There you go, a couple of sleazy movies for you. Next one is also a double feature. The first one's called Inn of the Damned, starring Alex Cord. And the second one's called Night of Fear. Get that flash off there. Oh, can't show that. Sorry about that. In the tradition of Hitchcock comes the classic Australian suspense thriller The movie itself came out in 1973, but the movie takes place in the year 1896 in Australia. Unwary travelers begin to disappear after they check in to an inn run by Carlene and Lazar. After the disappearances increase, Trooper Moore and American Cal Kincaid, played by Alex Cord, arrive at the inn to investigate. An odd mix of a western, a drama, and horror. Inn of the Damned was at the time of its filming the biggest budgeted Australian film ever. And Night of Fear, the film they didn't want you to see. Originally intended as the pilot episode of Fright, a horror anthology series for TV, Night of Fear was banned in its native Australia for being too violent. A young woman becomes lost in the middle of nowhere, only to be hunted down by a backwoods psychopath and his family of rats. Night of Fear is a nearly wordless journey into terror from Terry Bork, the director of Inn of the Damned. So this is a double bill from Terry Bork. This is only a 53-minute movie, but like they said, it was supposed to be a part of a horror anthology series, so it was never really intended to be a full-length movie, but 53 minutes is pretty good. It's pretty gory. The next one is a schoolgirls double feature. This is called Trip with the Teacher, which I also do have on Blu-ray from Vinegar Syndrome. And the second sexy feature is called Jailbait Babysitter. How far should a teacher go to protect her students? A chilling experience in terror as a group of female students and their pretty teacher are ambushed by two sadistic bikers while on a field trip, forcing the women to learn a lesson in survival. This slice of 70s sleaze is the writing and directing debut of choreographer Earl Barton, starring exploitation vets Zalman King, Brenda Fogarty, and Robert Gribben. And Trip with the Teacher also stars Zalman King and Brenda Fogarty. Oh no, that was, never mind, I'm sorry. Jailbait Babysitter. Vicky is 17 and her older friends call her Jailbait. Her boyfriend Robert is frustrated because Vicky doesn't want to do the wild thing. I kid you not, that's what it says. But he's willing to wait. After a party gets out of hand, Vicky escapes with the help of Lorraine, who takes her in as a house guest. While Lorraine teaches Vicky etiquette, Robert wonders what happened to his girlfriend, and Vicky soon learns more about Lorraine's job as an exclusive liaison. 1977. It says here at the bottom, dedicated to Zalman King, rest in peace, May 23rd, 1942 to February 3rd, 2012. Some really sleazy movies. You got to take a shower when you're done watching that kind of stuff. This one's called My Old Man's Place. His love was hate, his passion was violence. Michael Moriarty's in here. Let's see. 1972. It will never be the same. Two soldiers return from Vietnam with serious post-traumatic stress disorder. They decide to go for a couple of days to a peaceful farm owned by the father of one of the men, a psychotic sergeant who also did tours in Nam, joins them. Personalities clash. Also released as Glory Boy. My Old Man's Place was directed by Edwin Sharon and stars Arthur Kennedy, Mitchell Ryan, William Devane, with Michael Moriarty in his first film role. The next one is called Death Row Game Show. Chuck Todan Wants You to Die Laughing. I have this on Blu-ray too. $1987. Come on down for Death Row Game Show, the TV quiz program that wants you to die laughing. Smiling Chuck Todan has a runaway hit with Live or Die, the TV show where condemned convicts can win freedom or expire with style. But then Chuck falls for the beautiful feminist leader Gloria Sternvirgin and also runs afoul of a nasty mobster hitman. In a bizarre twist of fate, Chuck and Gloria suddenly find themselves unwilling contestants on the show, facing that life or death question. Curtain number 1, 2, or 3. Next one is another double feature. This is a Don Gronquist double feature called Murder Run and Unhinged. Murder Run. For them, it was more than a crime to be young. It was murder. And Unhinged. The nightmare begins when you wake up. Let's see here. 1989 for Murder Run. And 1983 for Unhinged. I think Unhinged was banned in the U.S. for a little while. I think I remember that from the 80s. So the first one, Murder Run. Is it Murder? Yeah, Murder Run. Takes place in Nebraska, 1958. Richie Stark was no ordinary killer. What made him different was that he wasn't running from murder. He was looking for it. Laura Ferguson, his adolescent girlfriend, just wanted to escape. But after the senseless murder of her father, she soon found herself on the road to hell. This is a true story of two young delinquents who in just a few days in 1958 raised hell along the highway, fell in love, and slaughtered 7 innocent people. Richie wasn't born mean, he was born crazy. All his short life, all he ever wanted was to be someone. The day he died in the electric chair, his wish came true. As Laura wept, the nation applauded. So that sounds like the movie that that Martin Sheen was in, and Criterion put that out on Blu-ray. Hold on a second. So there was a movie that Criterion put out with Martin Sheen called Badlands, and it was based on the true story of Charles Starkweather and his underage girlfriend, and he killed her father, and then they went on a killing spree. And that was in 1958. I believe that this is what that movie is also trying to cover. The Charles Starkweather story. If you haven't seen Badlands, it's excellent. It's a very, very good movie. Do check it out. And down here, this is Unhinged. It says, when Terry, Nancy, and Gloria, 3 pretty young college students, wrecked their car in a rainstorm on the way to a rock festival, little do they realize that their troubles are just beginning. Waking up in a mysterious old Victorian mansion nestled in the middle of nowhere, they find themselves trapped with no communication to the outside world. The house is owned by Marion Penrose, a middle-aged spinster of obvious culture and social background. and her mother, Mrs. Penrose, a demented old matriarch with a pathological hatred of men, caused years before when her husband committed some unnamed heinous crime, forever ruining their aristocratic name and forcing them into seclusion in the mountains. From here unfolds a haunting tale of sexual repression, turning again and again to savage violence as it races towards its paralyzing climax. A couple more sleazy movies. Next one is Foxbat, starring Henry Silva again. I mentioned before that I always enjoy his movies. This movie came out in 1977. There's an international race to obtain blueprints of a MiG-25 Foxbat Soviet fighter plane, which has landed in Japan. An undercover U.S. spy, Saxon, played by Henry Silva, has managed to take photos of the jet planes with his camera hidden in his left eyeball, and now must get the microfilm back to his country. There are competing representatives from many countries trying to do the same thing too, and at one point there's even super secret auction of the planes. The KGB is not taking this situation sitting down, and agents are dispatched to destroy the planes and anyone who has them. A little bit of action starring Henry Silva, you can't go wrong. The next one is called Death Machines. Deadly assassins trained to kill on command. This movie came out in 1976. 93 minutes running time, anamorphic widescreen. Forget the bomb. The killers of the future are here now. A vengeful crime boss unleashes a chilling new secret weapon, a trio of deadly assassins trained to kill on command. Their murderous rampage on unsuspecting targets seems invincible. But a young student, the sole survivor of their attack on a karate school, can identify the killers, unless the death machines reach him first. The use of karate, judo, and kung fu are shown here in exciting sequences. The effects are startling, and the tension never lets up. Death Machines is good stuff. Daily Grindhouse. The next one's called Death Promise. Filthy rich landlords get away with murder. It's time they pay for it. This movie came out in 1978. Anamorphic widescreen, 95 minutes running time. It says when the tenants of a rundown apartment band together to save their homes, the landlords resort to any means necessary to evict them, even the murder of an old man who has been their leader. His son, vowing revenge, makes a death promise. Charles Bonnet is the mean ass-kicking martial arts master out for revenge in this 1977 cult classic. Speedy Leacock, Vincent Van Lynn, Tony Liu, Billy Louie, and David Kirk co-star. Director Robert Warmflash went on to become a post-production supervisor on films such as Abel Ferrara's New Rose Hotel. You don't want to mess with that guy right there. Or that guy. Or those guys. Definitely not that guy. I thought that was Austin Stoker at first, but he's not in the credits. Death Promise. Next one is another double feature. This is The Black Dragon's Revenge, starring Ron Van Cleef. Charles Bonnet again is in here. And we have The Black Dragon, also starring Ron Van Cleef. No relation to Lee, different spelling and different color. So the first movie, The Black Dragon's Revenge, came out in 1974. And the second one, what was it called? The Black Dragon, came out in 1975. Anamorphic widescreen. So a lot of these movies, this is kind of blaxploitation martial arts, were very popular after Bruce Lee's death, and it even mentions it here. Like many films that came out of Hong Kong after Bruce Lee's death, The Black Dragon's Revenge looks at the speculation over the cause of Lee's death, coupled with the vows of several of Bruce's disciples to avenge his alleged murder. But Bruce Lee really put the martial arts movies on the map, and they just kind of continued even after his death. The next one is called Devil's Express. 50,000 years of death stalks the subways. Warhawk, Tanzania in Devil's Express. Take the express train to terror. The movie came out in 1976. It is anamorphic widescreen, 84 minutes running time. You guys may recognize him. That's Warhawk. He was a martial arts genre actor. A retro slice of true 70s grindhouse. Devil's Express is a unique movie. Everybody should see it. It's gritty, silly, fun, and very entertaining. New York master martial artist Luke, played by Warhawk Tanzania, goes to Hong Kong to earn his next level in the martial arts world. He convinces his student Rodan to accompany him. Once they arrive, they come across an ancient burial site and find an amulet that holds a horrific demon creature in its power. Not knowing what the amulet was for, Rodan steals it and brings it back to a gang-infested New York City, only for the demon to come to New York to find it. The demon travels through the New York City subway tunnels and preys on its victims, including Rodan himself. The police think all the killings are the result of gang wars, but Luke soon finds out the terrifying truth and seeks out to avenge the death of his student. Luke must confront the horrifying demon face to face and do battle in the underground subway, where the only train that runs that late is the Devil's Express. When they said it's a grindhouse type movie, they were not lying. And the last one from this Code Red pile, I do have more, we'll show those in a different video, but this is enough for one video here. This is Devils 3, Pay or Die. Karate babes will look and laugh while killer thugs are chopped in half. This movie came out in 1979, anamorphic widescreen, and it's 97 minutes running time. The second film in the Smash DVD series, they call her Cleopatra Wong. Devlin is a drug-pushing crime boss. His own henchmen kidnap his daughter in order to get in charge of his operations. Devlin is forced to call in his arch-enemy, Cleopatra Wong, to help him get his daughter back. Devlin promises to turn himself in if she manages to succeed in her mission. Wong needs a couple of reliable fighters, so she hires homosexual, I'm not making that up, Tony. So she hires homosexual Tony the one-armed executioner, and a 300-pound psychic lady named Rotunda. I'm not making that up. Comedy and thrills fill this fun film. The film was advertised as Kung Fu by distributor Terry Levine, while owner Lou George advertised it as a comedy. Whatever they did, it died at the box office. Directed by the late, great Bobby Suarez. There must be Rotunda right there. Let's see if we can spot the homo. There he is. That's definitely the homo. That's, what did they call him? Homo Tony? Yeah, Homo Tony. In Big Rotunda. All right, so we will stop it here. I'll pull some more movies out and we'll keep going. Okay, so the next portion of this video is going to be some Anchor Bay movies. Switch back over to Anchor Bay. The first one here is a double feature from George A. Romero. These are kind of two of his lesser known movies. You get Season of the Witch and a bonus movie called There's Always Vanilla. And Arrow Video did a really nice Blu-ray box set with these movies in it. And I recommend that box set. This was released by Anchor Bay in, 2005. And at that time, it was unseen for over 30 years. Part of the lost films of George A. Romero. So that was less than 20 years ago. And the movie itself, let me see if I can find the release year for it. 1971, it looks like. And it was filmed as Jack's wife and briefly released under the title Hungry Wives. Romero's third feature, Season of the Witch, is a disturbing story of a suburban housewife's descent into extramarital sex and the occult. Jan White stars in this daring drama that The Hollywood Reporter called hypnotically powerful and suspenseful, a nightmarish vision of female oppression. And then you get a 93-minute movie bonus feature called There's Always Vanilla. And the brief synopsis there says, fearing he would be typecast as a horror director, Romero immediately made this bittersweet drama about an affair between a free-spirited dropout and a beautiful young model of Night of the Living Dead that remains a provocative time capsule of media and morality in the 70s. And I think George did the right thing by going back to horror and sticking with horror, but it's cool to see somebody step out of their comfort zone. And this one has a featurette, Digging Up the Dead, the lost films of George A. Romero, and I believe there's a rare interview with Romero right there. Rare films feature exclusive extras that include a revealing new interview with Romero himself. So that alone is worth picking this up. Season of the Witch and There's Always Vanilla. Next one is kind of a bloody splatter film, another Italian slasher movie called Torso. This movie came out in 1973. It was released on DVD by Anchor Bay in 2000. Directed by Sergio Martino. He did a lot of slasher movies. A series of sex murders shock a college campus, and four beautiful young girlfriends head for the safety of an isolated country villa. But as they succumb to their own erotic desires, their weekend of pleasure becomes a vacation to dismember at the hands and blade of a lecherous maniac. Directed by Sergio Martino and starring Susie Kendall, who was in The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. This Euro horror chiller was originally released in America with much of the controversial violence removed by censors. Now fully restored from the original negative materials, Torso is presented uncut for the first time ever. The next one is the original, The Hills Have Eyes, directed by Wes Craven, starring Michael Berryman. Let me see here. The movie came out in 1977 and the DVD was released in 2003, starring Dee Wallace, Michael Berryman. Directed by Wes Craven, we all know that. Peter Locke presents Wes Craven's cult classic uncut, uncensored, and on DVD for the first time. The Carters are an all-American family on their way to California when their car breaks down far from civilization in the remote southwestern desert. But they're not alone. Watching from the hill is a very different kind of clan, a family of marauding, inbred cannibals with an unspeakable taste for human flesh and monstrous brutality. In the nightmare that follows, what depravities must this wholesome family endure to survive? And in what primal wasteland ruled by lust and rage, who will become the most shocking savages of all? Great movie. The Hills Have Eyes. Here is Day of the Dead, the DiviMax edition with the slipcover. This one, I put it in a bag because a lot of people will tell you that this head right here, Bub, one of the main character, the main zombie character in the movie, this little portion of his head is embossed, and it's also it's a free flap from the rest of the, I don't even know if that makes sense, but this part moves, it opens up. And if you try to slide this into your shelf, many people have gotten that caught, smacked, and banged up, so I put it in a tight bag to prevent that from happening. This is a pretty cool addition here. And it's a fun movie, great movie. The movie itself came out in 1985. This was released on DVD by Anchor Bay in 2003. It's a 2-disc set. Disc 1 has the movie, also has audio commentary, and Disc 2 has a 39-minute documentary featuring interviews with writer-director George A. Romero, producer David Ball, and Tom Savini, Greg Nicotero. Tons of great stuff. This is a really good edition. This is why I never get rid of any of my stuff. I like to collect all this stuff. Day of the Dead. The next one's called Hell of the Living Dead. When the creeping dead devour the living flesh. This is a Bruno Mattei film. Great cover. Let's see here. The movie came out in 1983. It was released on DVD by Anchor Bay in 2002. Got some special features here. Interview with director Bruno Mattei. Hell Rats of the Living Dead. The infamous zombie splatter classic, uncut and uncensored for the first time ever. Ancient. An accident at a chemical plant unleashes a horrific virus, and an elite SWAT team is sent to New Guinea to investigate. But when they arrive on the hellish island, they discover a plague of flesh-eating zombies, as well as a beautiful female reporter who practices nude anthropology. Can the commandos survive this cannibal rampage, uncover a shocking government secret, and still find time for occasional cross-dressing before the ravenous hordes of the living dead infect the entire world? Italian Gut Muncher is famous for its eye-popping gore, jaw-dropping dialogue, and heart-stopping use of inappropriate stock footage. Also known as Virus, Night of the Zombies, and Zombie Creeping Flesh, and Hell of the Living Dead. Has been transferred from original negative materials and is now presented completely uncut and uncensored for the first time ever. Here's another edition, a different edition of Fulci's Zombie from the Lucio Fulci collection. The movie came out in 1979, and Anchor Bay released it on DVD in 2002. Widescreen with audio commentary. In 1979, director Lucio Fulci set out to create a movie experience that would become the ultimate in flesh-eating terror. Fulci's film quickly became a worldwide sensation, and more than 2 decades later, remains one of the most graphically depraved shockers in horror history. Tessa Farrow, who is Mia Farrow's sister, Ian McCulloch, and Richard Johnson, and Olga Karlatos star in this carnage classic about an onslaught of ravenous corpses that threatens to devour an island in the Caribbean and head straight for the streets of New York City. It says, this is the notorious disc that DVD Review says belongs in every horror film collection. This is the bloody mother of all Italian zombie epics, presented in its eye-gouging, throat-ripping, gut-munching glory. And it is all of that, and then some. This is a great movie. Between this movie and The New York Ripper, I think those are Fulci's 2 best. At least those are the 2 that I enjoy the most. But he does have a lot of horror movies. The Beyond is another great one. But I happen to like Zombie and The New York Ripper. Those are my 2 favorites. The next one is Dario Argento's crown jewel, I think. I think this is Argento's best movie. This is Suspiria from the Dario Argento collection. This movie is beautiful, really beautifully shot. Great movie. So this one came out in 1977, and the DVD was released by Anchor Bay in 2001. The definitive version of Argento's horror masterpiece, uncut, uncensored, and remastered from the original negative. Everybody knows this movie. This is my favorite Argento movie by far, but he has a great catalog of movies. He has a lot of top tier movies, but this is his best right here, in my opinion. The next one is the Silent Night, Deadly Night double bill, part 1 and part 2. This is the Christmas Survival double feature. Earlier I showed part 3, 4, and 5 that they have on a little set like this too. This one's a little harder to find, or it was at the time. I don't know if it is anymore. These movies have beautiful Blu-ray releases by Scream Factory, so it could be that the DVDs are almost nothing now. I don't know, but I got this a long time ago at a Best Buy. This is the original unrated version. And then this is the sequel, Prayers Won't Save You, and the silent part of this night. These are fun little holiday-themed slasher movies. They're not good. They're not great by any stretch of the imagination, but they're fun. I'm sure most of you guys have seen these by now. Comes on a swing tray. And this might be the last one for this video. This is a drive-in double bill. This is part of the Anchor Bay Horror Double Features drive-in movies. You got Fade to Black and Hell Night. This is a great twin pack here. These are good movies to watch back to back. Of course, both of these have Blu-ray releases by now. Fade to Black. When did you come out? Well, I think Hell Night came out in 1981. Maybe they both came out in 1981. Don't know. If you haven't seen Fade to Black, do check it out. Shy, lonely Eric Binford delivers film cans and posters in Los Angeles for a living, but he really exists only to see movies and immerse himself in fantasies about cinematic characters and stars. Frequently bullied and betrayed, Eric comforts himself by pretending to be one of the many tough heroes or villains who have captivated him on the silver screen. When a series of unpleasant incidents loosen Eric's already weak grip on reality, it sends him into a homicidal rage. He launches a series of grotesque murders, all patterned after characters and incidents from his beloved movies. He becomes known as the Celluloid Killer, one of the most horrifying murderers the city has ever known. It's a good movie. It's fun because you get to see a lot of that, the horror posters and stuff like that. And as collectors, we like to see that stuff. And you get to see posters from the early 80s and different things like that. It's really good, really cool. And Hell Night is another good one. Linda Blair, also Vincent Van Patten. Linda Blair stars in it, though. On a dark night 12 years ago, madman Raymond Garth butchered his wife and children in their creepy mansion before killing himself. Legend has it that one child survived the slaughter and remains hidden in the house as a deformed monster. Tonight, a group of fraternity and sorority pledges must spend the night in Garth Manor on an anniversary of the killings. But even if these college kids can handle one wild evening of sex, partying, and pranks, will they survive the ultimate horrors of Hell Night? Excellent movies. This is a great twin bill right here. So I think that's going to do it for me for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the next one. I don't know when I'll upload it, but I will at some point. Hope you guys have been enjoying these. I enjoy going through these again. And hopefully I'm giving you guys some ideas. So take care. For Miss Hannah and Miss Heidi, I'm your boy Toddy Walnut saying I'll see you next time. Later.